Nice. Sorry for that technical difficulty. Hello, everyone. Again, my name's Dennis Baker. I'm the business program director. Thanks for coming out. A big reason we do these is encourage our audience to create their own work from hearing from people who've been there, done it, and survived to tell the story. So that's why they are here. So I'll let them introduce themselves. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jesse Shapiro. I'm writer, director, producer of the film.
Okay, that's enough. That's appropriate. I'm Jeremy Elliot. I'm one of the producers on the film.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jane Satow, and I acted in the film, and I also produced it.
And we're all still kind of friends. You know, it's pretty amazing.
So while there's no cast or crew in the audience, there's one very special person that we're going to give a shout out to. So I'll let you.
Miss Yannick. Miss Yannick, my high school teacher's here.
Yay!
From Cleveland High School, Reseda, California. Los Angeles, born and raised. Woot woot, right here. Yeah.
Native LA representing. So we're going to jump straight in. It takes to make a film happen. It starts with story and script, obviously. So kind of talk about kind of where the story came to be, how that kind of just formed, and how you got into the script mode.
Yeah. The story. I was working on a bunch of different short films for Sony Crackle, like in 2007, 2008, and it was kind of comedic shorts with a friend of mine who's a comedian who's very funny, and I was really happy with the stuff that we were doing, but I was like, this isn't really my voice. This isn't like, I'm kind of producing and directing stuff for someone else's vision, and I was like, I want to do something that's my vision. And so then I thought, all right, I want to make a small budget film, like a micro budget film. So I kind of started reverse engineering and thinking in those terms, like, all right, well, what could I do for cheap? What could I do? What would I care about? And I was driving down the 10 freeway and like looking at downtown, and it was one of those like gorgeous blood orange sunsets. And the first song that you hear in the film, Sunny Day Sets Fire, Smallest Heart on Earth, came on the radio. And I was like, I fucking love LA. I was like, this is, and I was, I'm born and raised here. And I just thought there needs to be a love letter to LA. There needs to be a movie that really kind of represents the LA that I grew up in and that I appreciate and that I've lived in, which isn't the Kardashians and isn't, straight out of Compton. There's just like a lot in between those two extremes that's rarely, if ever, addressed in film and television that I kind of wanted to show. And so kind of that was like an inspiration right there. Just kind of I had a moment of inspiration, and then I thought Nobody Walks in LA popped in my head, and I thought it would be really funny to do a movie called Nobody Walks in LA about two people walking around LA all day and really experiencing it. And having grown up here and been in high school, there was a time when I didn't have a car and I was forced to interact with the city through buses and public transportation and walking and so on and so forth. And so that was kind of the germination of the idea, and it kind of snowballed from there.
Talk a little bit about writing style. How did you, how many drafts did you, what was the feedback process like? Kind of talk about the journey in that.
Yeah. So the writing process, I don't have that, Sylvester Stallone Rocky story. I went away and wrote it in 6 days and came back, and all of a sudden, it was a very laid back writing style. It was like when I felt inspired, I would write, and when I didn't, I wouldn't. And then there was a time, kind of after, so I was doing all this internet content for Sony Crackle, and then the internet went away during like 2008, 2009. The whole economy went to crap, and I didn't have a job, and I moved back into my parents' house. And so that served as that got me to write. I had some extra spare time to write at that point, and my parents wanted me to see me doing something. So sitting in front of the computer and being able to show them that, hey, look, I'm working on a script, Mom and Dad. And although, it's still, my dad's a lawyer, and he was like, well, this isn't going to pay any bills, but once kind of I got put in that situation, I knocked it out fairly quickly, and then I had a couple of close friends who are writers who I shared the script with and got feedback with, and who are invaluable in terms of helping shape the script. I think a lot of the issues with the script in the beginning was really just exposition, because I had so much kind of like history and different stuff I wanted to add into the script. how to do that in a conversational style where it's not like, hey, look at this building. This was built in 19, blah, 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 and this is important to me because of this. As a, to make it feel natural and have that conversational flow, I think was probably the biggest challenge in terms of the script. And having good friends who are good writers and good readers really helped with that a lot.
Nice. Talk a little bit about when did you know it was ready to go into kind of pre-production, add on your producing team, kind of start that ball rolling. When was that feeling for you, or talk about that process?
Yeah, I mean, like a week after I was done writing it. That was like 2011. I mean, I started writing this in 2008, 2009, and there was a lot of false starts in terms of getting this project going. And I had a couple different. I don't know how in depth you want me to go on this because there's. All right, so basically, I finished writing the script and I thought. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shoot the first 20 pages because that takes place on a residential block, and then I'll use that to go out and raise money to show investors, hey, this guy knows what he's doing or can make something decent. And so I had that all set up with a different producing team at that time and different actors involved, and then. And the lead actress at that point was a roommate of mine who I'd lived with, and 3 days before we were supposed to shoot the first 20 pages of it and had it all set up, she booked The Walking Dead. So that was like first time strikeout. And then I brought on another producer the next year. We were going to go out and raise money, and he brought on another producing partner. And the reason I tell you this is because there were so many. I think it's important to realize, like, even if you start something and things go wrong, they're definitely going to go wrong, and to keep on going is basically the point of the story. So the second time I brought on a producer, he had a producing partner, and all of a sudden I get a call from him saying, like, you need to get rid of this other producer that I brought on. And I was like, why? He's like, well, I didn't tell you this, but we used to date, and she got really weird with me last night. And all of a sudden I was like, you want me to break up with your fucking girlfriend for you? I was like, all right, both of you are gone. Now, like, push it back another year, start from scratch. So this is the third iteration, the one that worked. So thank you, Jeremy and Sarah. Yes. So this time I just decided I'm going to bring on a producer. I'm going to raise the money myself. I'm going to take care of it all and just, hire someone as a producer. And although that's not how the relationship ended up being with these guys, I put an ad out on Craigslist, literally saying, hey, I'm looking for a producer for my micro budget feature film. And when you're not saying, hey, I'm looking for a producing partner, you're like, I'm looking to hire a producer. I got a lot more people interested. And so Jeremy, I don't know why, he's like busy producing commercials, and he can answer this question, doing a lot of other great stuff, responded to me and said, he was the only one that I met with and that I talked to that was like, I want to read the script. Everyone else is like, yeah, sure, we can do it for this. No problem, we got it, blah, 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 blah. And he was the only one who actually asked to read the script.
I actually think I was on Craigslist looking for a free couch, if I remember. So it worked out timing-wise.
Right. And so Jeremy asked to read the script, and I don't know, I'll throw it to you, Jeremy.
So talk a little bit about that on your end, Jeremy, because it's Craigslist. And
Craigslist is, what year was this? This was
2014, I think.
2014? Okay. Craigslist is just one avenue to check and to see what's out there, and it's incredibly hit and miss. I mean, most of the time you're going to meet some crazy person whose grandmother left them $20,000 and they're going to go shoot their terrible script. But every now and then you find something of quality and you come across it and you check it out and you see what's there, and I don't even remember replying, to completely honest. I might have been drunk, but I remember you sent me the script and I read the script and I'm like, this is such an odd channel to receive such a good script. And I remember feeling very lucky and fortunate that I came across this on Craigslist. And it was the kind of script that you can you can reach out to 20 different literary agents and you'd be lucky to come across a property like this. And I remember feeling very fortunate that I read the script, and when I read that and I met with Jesse and I saw he actually had a vision and a plan for this movie, I realized this was, whatever you want to call it, fate or the stars aligning, that there was something really special to be done here. So, and I had worked with Sarah. I'd known you for quite a while, and I'd worked with her before, and I thought she would be a good fit for the team, and we came together and kind of shared a similar philosophy for the film. And I think as soon as we realized that it was a good fit and it was a good philosophy to approach it, that we decided to work together. So,
Sarah, what? Obviously, you read the script, but is it kind of a thing where if Jeremy says, "Hey, you want in? You're in." Is it that type of thing, or what? Kind of talk about it from your point of view.
No, I totally actually wanted to read it first. I met with them. Jeremy called me about it and said that they were meeting with a couple people, and I read it immediately, and I had a relationship kind of like, with a similar relationship with a friend in high school, and I just totally clicked for me. And I was like, I really love this script. I want to see what these guys are about. Initially, I thought Jesse was a girl because I had no idea from his name.
after meeting him, or
No.
Oh, okay.
But
I had a lot more hair back then.
But it was, it was very surprising. And
Based on the script.
Based
when
on
you
the
read
script,
the script,
yes.
you thought it was written by a girl.
I thought it was written by
Yeah.
a woman, and because it just said Jesse Shapiro, and I just totally didn't even think of
I.E.
a
That
gender.
would have been the giveaway. The I. You need the I. Just
No,
straight
I've
E.
met other Jessies
Straight
just
E's,
with an
straight E's
E.
dude. Straight E's dude.
So
Allegedly.
yeah,
So then you guys start meeting together, and obviously you do need to talk a little bit about money and start talking about department heads and things like that. And you, as you mentioned, you said you were going to self-fund it, coming from, talk a little bit about that decision making. What does that mean? Was it credit cards? Was it the parents? Was it kind of a little bit about that?
The reason I'm laughing is because you just say department heads, and that just makes me chuckle.
Right.
You're looking at the department
Yeah,
heads.
we're all
right?
here. We represent all the departments.
Department heads, yeah.
I'm really good at craft service.
Right.
Transpo.
We had a 12 passenger van. That was another department head. I mean, so this basically, I decided I was gonna ask all my friends and family members for money. And I had the script, and I went to like I literally, I think that in terms of the biggest challenge for me as an individual was mustering up the courage to ask everyone I've ever known in my life for money for a personal passion project.
Was it Kickstarter, or was it just personally like?
No,
Email
we did do a Kickstarter at some point, but that was kind of more to try and raise some money on the back end for music and stuff like that.
Okay.
But initially, it was just trying to hit a certain number to get us through production. And so, I literally, and that, I think that was probably one of the longest parts of the process, was me just getting that courage to go to friends, family, past coworkers, to everyone. I just decided I'm going to ask everyone I know that I've ever met, that I have some type of relationship with, for money. And then I can tell them, hey, just so you know, don't feel personally called out. I'm asking everyone. So you don't have to feel weird about it. If you say no, I'm expecting, it's all good, but just know I'm asking everyone. And so
you're living with your parents and asking everyone for money.
at that point, I'd gotten out of the house. I'd gotten a new gig. The economy had gotten a little bit better, so I had some more confidence at that point. Awesomely, a lot of people invested, and that's the thing. I think the reason why I wanted to start not with a Kickstarter but with investment is because I believe in the project. We made it for such a small amount of money that I really believe, and I still believe, that we will make our money back on this project. And so, we asked for, an investment of $2,000 would get you, a piece of the film, and we're on video, so I shouldn't say. Does it matter? I don't know, whatever. But I mean, we ended up doing this movie for around $100,000. So, yeah.
And then so, as that's happening, about how long did it take for you to get the money, as you guys are probably working the other angles of securing some dates?
We had 50. We made it through production on $50,000, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so we made it through production, and then the biggest chunk of our budget was for music, because.
As you guys kind of signed on, how long did you guys give yourself in pre-production before did you have the shoot date? Like, okay, we're going to shoot here no matter what, or kind of talk about the process of.
Yeah, well, no, we had 50 secured for when we started production, so we had a plan to shoot it for 50. And again, I mean, we were the department heads. We had a DP. We had a sound guy, thank God, because there's a lot of talking in this movie. But yeah, I mean, we had a plan for 50K, and then it's maybe not the most responsible thing to do to jump in and say we're gonna use all our money to shoot it, and we'll figure out post later. And I certainly, anyone who's planning to shoot their movie, please try to have a post-production plan in place. But we didn't, and it worked out, and we were able to shoot something of quality, and it helped us kind of raise the rest of the money.
We did have on the hiccup theme, 2 weeks before we were about to shoot, Kim, who plays Becca, wasn't our original lead. There was another actress who was attached, and she fell out 2 weeks before. And so in terms of are you just planning on shooting it no matter what, or we were shooting it no matter what. And fortunately, Kim fell into our lap, and because she's amazing in this.
And she's repped by Adam, the lead actor. Her manager reps
her
the lead
agent
actor as well. Yeah. So we got lucky.
How many weeks did you have between kind of when you guys came on board till the actual shoot date? How much kind of pre-production time did you guys have?
A month?
Yeah, like a month or two. It was quick. Yeah, I mean, when we came on board, we immediately started putting together kind of the plan for pre-production and to shoot it.
We had like a hard week of pre-production, though, I think.
A hard week?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a tough week. It was a hard week. Yeah.
Because we were the department heads doing everything.
I'm going to jump a little bit into about locations, because the locations I feel like is like the kind of third in this film. Did you write saying on one of these locations, or were you guys in finding what locations you can shoot, saying, hey, we're shooting at this location because we can get it, and this is where we're shooting?
We're on video, so just remember we're being filmed right now.
Safe space.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had all the locations written into the film. There are a couple locations that we couldn't shoot.
Permission.
Permission was difficult.
What do you mean a few? You mean most of them? Yeah.
There are some that are in the film that maybe, just use your imagination. But no, all the one location that I really wanted, which it ended up being fine, was I wanted to shoot in Clifton's cafeteria when they're in Grand Central Market, but Clifton's was closed at that time, and so we stole it from Grand Central Market.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about the actors, because we do have actors in the audience. Did you have a traditional kind of audition experience? Did you write with any of these actors in mind? Obviously, you talked about one kind of leaving in a couple of weeks. Kind of talk about finding your actors. Obviously, you played one as well too. So
yeah. So in terms of finding the actors, Adam Shapiro, no relation, by the way, there was no just Shapiro love there that I'm just giving it to my brother or cousin or anything like that. No. But Adam had come on board when we were initially going to do the first 20-minute short, and I had seen him read with my roommate and loved him, and so he kind of was always supportive and on board with the film. And I'd hit him up every 6 months or a year and be like, it's gonna happen soon, man, it's coming, and he'd be like, all right, man, I'm totally into it. And kudos and a lot of love to him for sticking with the project for so long while it was gestating, and I was working up courage and getting out of my parents' house and all this other fun stuff. But so I saw Adam read initially. I always loved him for it. And then we had another actress attached who fell out a couple weeks before, and Kim came in and read for it. And it was, it's one of those things where in the arts and filmmaking and whatever it might be, you get those lucky, when I found out that the previous actress had fallen out, the sky is falling. Oh my gosh, this is the end of the world. And then it's fortuitous and actually really lucky, and good things come from those type of alleged misfortunes at the time. So I think whenever you get a curveball thrown your way, just remember it's how it's supposed to be. This is like something good will come from it. And so Kim came in, read for it. We immediately knew that she was going to kill it. I mean, to be able to have the range from the comedy to the drama to the, it is very, very hard and incredibly rare. And I could see that, and we could see that in her audition, that she had that type of range. So we were incredibly fortunate. Sarah, I mean, she's lovely. And I mean, Adam Miles is a Jew. Of course, he's going to have an Asian girlfriend. So I completely
That's literally what he said to me.
I completely typecast that role, and she killed it. So there was, it was.
Nice.
The least Asian person I know, by the way.
Segue into that one. Let's talk about a little bit in production. Since you guys were everything, how did that kind of work once you got into production of wearing the hats of who did what, who, you know what I mean? Because you're planning so many days in advance while you're doing the thing on the day. So just kind of talk about that process of getting everything done when you needed to.
Well, our director was driving the shuttle van, so he was our transpo / director / writer.
My house was the production.
Your backyard was the production office, which was convenient because, but I mean, it's never a pretty process. I mean, it's like,
it's like July in LA, and it was super hot, and we're shooting outside, and the sound, everything was. We were very fortunate, but there were a lot of things thrown in the mix.
Yeah, you just have to adapt. I mean, you go to film school and you get taught a certain way, and this is kind of the template of how a movie is made, and that's what you know. And then you jump into something like this where you don't have money, you don't have the resources, and you just have to. It's very Darwinian. It's just very your survival instincts kick in, and you realize you've got to get a movie in the can, and you do whatever's called upon. And I think if anything, you realize you just lose ego. I mean, you quickly throw whatever ego a writer, director, or a producer or an actor has. You quickly throw it out the window because it has no place in indie guerrilla filmmaking. It's the process is like childbirth. It's just sloppy and scary and chaotic, and you roll up your sleeves and you pray that you get to the end of the day, and when you get to the end of the day, you pray that you get to the end of the week, and hopefully you've got a movie. So
Jeremy went to film school and as a child, so
right.
I have neither.
So I have a lot of bills.
So it was a very zen process in terms of shit's gonna get flown at you the whole time, and it's just yes and okay, yes, that's what's happening, and what are we gonna do now about that? All right, well let's get and I think that's it. What Sarah just said is that I think limitations force you to get creative, and I think that's where some of the best stuff from this film came from. Our poster shot, which is the shot of them sitting in the library, or like in front of the library. Oh yeah, is it up there? Oh yeah, right there, right over there. Sweet. Yeah, our poster shot. That we weren't supposed to shoot there. We were going to shoot on the other side of the library. But there was a shit ton of security over there, and I was like, I'm gonna have to shoot this on a longer lens, and we're gonna have to. It's gonna feel weird, and we're not gonna be able to. This is one of the most important scenes of the film. We're not gonna be able to get it, and so I just talked with my DP. And 5 minutes before we were supposed to shoot it, I said, "Let's do this. Let's have them walk around this way, and then we'll have them come up and walk right here and sit right here." And I mean, we're literally shooting in front of the library. We've got. Like someone holding up like a diffuser to block.
That was
the
me.
light.
Yeah, that was me holding the diffuser.
Jeremy and and
someone. That was me.
Yeah. So, and we weren't permitted to shoot there either, but we just looked confident, and no one stopped us. So it was, So it worked out. But I think in general, you need to. I'm really glad I didn't make a feature film until my 30s, because if I were in my 20s, I would have been a nightmare. I mean, and no disrespect to people in their 20s, but just I'm talking about personally myself. Like, I feel like you need to learn how to deal with some stuff and how to like go with the flow and have a little maturity and not have it just be like, oh my gosh, everything's going to shit. What's happening? Like, I know, I mean, this is me when I was like 26 and did my first short film. Like, my mom was like making some origami for me and like I fired her. I was like, that's not the origami I want. I mean, like, I'm talking about me as a human being. Like, that, like, my friend Gabe's like, you just fired your mom from your short film? What kind of asshole are you? Like, you need to have a little bit of life experience, chillness.
If you haven't moved in with your parents once, then you shouldn't.
I think that's
move
exactly
back in
it.
with your parents at least once, and then go make a movie.
And that was after I had fired her from my first short film. So the fact that they let me back in was incredible.
You fired your landlord. So
It's a definition of unconditional love right there. I'm sure there'll be plenty of actors in the audience who've worked with the 18-year-olds and the 19-year-old college students who can probably testify to egos and whatnot. Let's talk a little bit about, because that's one thing I did notice about your film is like the way you wrote it with two characters, you could be flexible with the things you needed to be flexible on. And I think that's probably a kudos in that you had ideas of where you wanted to set, but then you could change it in the moment because you wrote it that way. And it's probably a relief to your producers going, you know what, we don't have to have 20 people in this one location to make this scene happen. And so talk a little bit about more, maybe from the producer's mindset, some other examples of, because of the script of how it was written, the indie part of it could still happen. Was there other maybe examples of, avoiding the cops or any of the other stories you might have to talk about that? The whole thing.
LA cops don't really give a shit about people shooting.
well, hold on.
Hold on.
Yes. Hold your
So the
words.
director on set versus the
right.
producers.
Yeah.
I mean, like the bike, coordinating and producing like the bike scene and getting that whole thing and finding like a group of actual cyclists that could help us and guide us through the city. And I learned so much about the different like bike groups around LA and they all have beef and they can't come over here and I can't talk to that guy because it is just
I think, the biggest thing is you have to blend. You can't invest into this idea that a film production has to look a certain way. That you have to have a 40-person crew and you have to have a crane and a jib and honey wagons. All of that, none of what you saw on the screen had anything to do with any of that stuff. It wasn't about any of that. It was
all
about
the money is on screen.
Yeah, it's a camera and your characters, and this was a script that was about characters and yeah, the locations, they were a character in this film, but you could have put them in many different places. If we shot in the LA Public Library and we shot there with no permits and we snuck in there with a camera, but if we had gotten kicked out of there, we would have just moved on to the next place and we would have shot that scene somewhere else because
We would have come back the next day.
okay, but I guess the point is it's about the characters and it's about the relationship, and it was never tied into. You have to be organic, and the second you're not willing to be organic in your approach when you're trying to make something at this level, it falls apart really quickly. And so we went into every day knowing that if something didn't work out, we would improvise.
I completely agree. The other thing that we did to kind of to try and test as much as we could before we got there is when we were location scouting, we had someone following us around with a camera that looked like the camera we'd be shooting with. So we knew when we went certain places and people came up to us and said, hey, I'm sorry, you can't shoot in here. Like, all right, this is going to be a place that we're going to have a problem. And so we knew we would have to strategize. Not sure if that's a word, but I'm going to go with
George
it.
George W.
Bush.
I know. I was gonna say. Strategic.
But
Good try.
yeah, so that kind of gave us a heads up on places where we might have issues. And there was one, I remember Olvera Street. We actually did have a permit. We got a documentary permit to shoot as if we were a documentary crew, and
It's a city grid. It
Walking
gives
grid,
you
yeah.
it's a walking grid. So you can technically, if you're a small crew, you can shoot anywhere.
So we were shooting a documentary called Nobody Walks in LA, and we went to Olvera Street, and we were shooting there for one of the montage scenes, and they came up and said, excuse me, do you have a permit? And Jeremy showed him our permit, and he said, oh no, this is a historical national monument. You can't shoot. You have to have a special permit. But he was impressed that we had something at all. He was like, most people don't have anything, so you guys are pretty cool. And Jeremy's like, well, do you mind if we just take photos? And the guy's like, yeah, that's okay. You can take photos. So we proceeded to take 24 photos a second.
Well, that is true. We shot most of and you might have noticed watching this, we shot most of the film with an Epic, but we also shot on a Canon still camera, and those, like the Catholic Church, which I think you can probably surmise that we didn't have permission to shoot in that church. We went in with what is essentially a still camera, and it looked like we were just shooting photos, but we were actually shooting video. So again, you get creative with the process. So
you mentioned it earlier. I want to touch on it again. Pros and cons about not prepping with an editor and stuff. Did your editor sign on after you shot? Did your editor involved anywhere in the production process? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so our editor, he was kind of on set the whole time actually, and he's amazing. He's a great editor, and we had seen some other stuff he cut, but he's like young and hungry and hadn't edited a feature film before, and so we kind of brought him on during the set to do the, what's it called again? The
DIT.
DIT.
So the DIT stuff,
Yeah.
and then if we were like, look, man, if this works out and you're cool and everyone gets along, we'll have you edit the film. And so he did a great job with that, and we had seen the other stuff that he had done, and so he came on board to edit it as well. And so yeah.
You said you raised a little bit more money. Talk a little bit about that process, because a lot of times you get one ask with a film and you're like, okay, whatever money we get with that ask is what we have to go with. And you guys came back a second time for the money with the music and everything and did the Kickstarter thing. So talk about that process. A lot of filmmakers are doing that where it's post-production, so they have something to show for their work. Talk a little bit about that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was basically the thought process behind it, was just I didn't want to go to people without anything and say, this is my dream. I mean, I'm comfortable doing that if I'm saying, hey, this is a business investment. If you want to invest in my vision, and here, read the script, and this is what we're going to do, and you'll make money back. But to just have people give money without being able to show anything, for me personally, I felt a little bit uncomfortable with that. But after we had some stuff, then I could say, look at the scene with music. Now look at it without music. Isn't it way better with music? Do you want to help us out a little bit? And so we were able to do pretty well on Kickstarter, which was exciting. And it was also, again, it's a way to generate word of mouth and to start generating awareness for your film as well. So I think that's also useful. But I think overall, in general, in the future, would I do a Kickstarter again? I'd be on the fence about it, just because I feel like all of us are so sick of getting asked for money from people at this point. That's my own personal feeling. That doesn't mean that it won't be successful for obviously tons and tons of more people. But it's one thing when you're like, hey, I've got this cool technology gadget that you're going to get, and you're going to be able to open your fridge from your bedroom, and it's going to be amazing, and it's only $20. But I think it's another thing for filmmaking. I don't know, in my own personal opinion, whether I would do it again.
Talk a little bit about lessons learned in post, things you were like, oh, we should have remembered that, or this would be good to know ahead of time, planning wise and pre-production and production, that's really helpful for post, things like that.
Just shooting in loud public places. Sound.
Yeah. Sound.
I think, yeah, sound's the biggest issue. We shot this in 12 days, and we didn't do any reshoots. We got it. So overall, I feel pretty good about. I mean, the thing is while we were, I had this movie in my head, like it was in my head. So when I was ready to move on. I wasn't sitting there. We weren't doing 10 takes of many things. I mean, it was as soon as I felt the weird thing is that not the weird thing, but the cool thing was that it was almost shot like an old school movie was, because we didn't have playback, so I couldn't. Our audio wasn't linked to our camera, so it's not like I could watch it back with the performances, and so I'd watch it through the screen and watch their performances simultaneously, and afterwards I'd look at my DP and be like, "Hey, did you get that?" And he'd give me like a yes or no. I'd looked at the sound guy. I said, "Hey, Good sound on that? If you tell me yes or no. I looked at the actors. How do you guys feel about that? I feel good. You want to do it again? What's going on? And so it was almost shot like an old school 1940s or 50s film in terms of we didn't know exactly if we had gotten it or not. But if everyone kind of said, I feel good, then we would move on. So, I mean, you know, it was a lot of, obviously there's a lot of trust involved in that. And fortunately it worked out. And like, I hope that it shows on the screen.
We had really good actors.
Yeah, seriously, amazing.
I mean, if you're gonna make a small movie like this, I mean, it's script and your actors. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it needs to go into. Don't make the movie until the script is ready to be made, and cast the right people. Don't cast your cousin because he's an actor. Don't cast your friend because you've known him for 20 years. Do the time to find the right cast.
No relation. Adam Shapiro and I, no relation at all.
Yeah, no nepotism. So.
Talk a little about the film festivals. Did you guys go in with a certain plan? We talked a little about in the green room of like you're kind of editing for something. Talk kind of about like that.
Yeah. So, you know, we finished the film late summer. We edited for a few months. And the goal was our initial goal. I would have loved to premiere this at the LA Film Festival. They called me and said, "Hey, you're in the final round," and I was like, "Yes." And then they're like, "You didn't get in," and I was like, "No," you know. I mean, and I think the lesson to take away from that is, for me at least, was just there are so many different factors that go into these type of decisions at any film. You would think a film called Nobody Walks in LA might have been a good fit for the LA Film Festival. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. But you know what? There's so many different things that are going on in terms of the decisions that are being made at these festivals. And so it's, and I think you need to respect that process. So we kind of went around for another round, and we were like, all right, well, sure, let's try Sundance now. Let's try South by Southwest. Let's try this. Let's try that. And there's a lot of, as I said, you know, there's a lot of programming decisions. There's a lot of, I worked in the comedy industry for a long time, and was the talent booker for the Hollywood Improv. So I would also see behind the scenes how decisions are made in Hollywood, and it's honestly not always based on the best thing.
It's political.
There's a lot of politics that goes on, and so I think anyone who's getting involved in this industry just needs to accept that as part of life. And
don't value your project based on these festivals. Don't put that self-worth into it. You've got to know what you've got, and you got to have confidence, and don't let a rejection from a festival kind of destroy that value that you know you have. So
100%. And then so we came back around, and Newport is a great festival, and they love the film, and they invited us down there, and we were very excited about that because it's not LA, but it's close, and it's nice down there, and they got cool shopping malls, and it's right, you know, there's boats. It's really cool. And so we ended up winning the audience award down there, which was a really nice follow up. And then, you know, my own personal philosophy going into the festival stuff was, I think it's great for relationships. It's great to get out there and meet people. I wasn't interested in doing like a 2-year long festival run where we're submitting to every single festival. At this point, we had shot in 2014, summer of 2014. We finally premiered at Newport this year, 2016. And I was like, I'm ready to get this. I want to get this movie out. I want people to see it. I want people to enjoy it. The Maui Film Festival called us and said, hey, we heard about your film. Can we see it? They watched it, and then they invited us out there, which was really cool. And they put me up at the Ondas, and I was like, all right, now I feel like a director. I was like, now I feel special. So that was super cool and amazing. And then we played one other festival, and it was time to get the movie out. So we are actually releasing the film. It's going to be at the Laemmle Music Hall from November 18th through 24th, which is in a couple of weeks. So make sure you tell your friends to come out and please support it as well. I feel like I'm wrapping this up for you. I'm sorry. There's probably more questions, but I just want to make sure that you guys, go visit our website, nobodywalksinla.com, and definitely, if you could please tell your friends and family. It will also be available online simultaneously on Amazon and on Google. So.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We wrap it up with kind of a golden nugget question. So this is how it works. From the perspective of producers, director, writer, if you could leave with one lesson learned that you're like, okay, this is what I would have told myself before we started, or this is what I would tell a filmmaker who's creating a feature film, would be kind of like, if you forget everything I said, remember this one thing as you go make your project. What would that one thing be?
No, you start.
The one thing?
It could be like more than one if you have a couple.
There's so many.
Well, I feel bad. I mean, if I would have known how long this was going to take, I might not have done it. But I don't really mean that. I think, the one thing that I would take from it is that being creative, being an artist, being a director, being an actor, being whatever, this is it's an ongoing process, and it's never the beginning, it's never the end. It's I think it's really important to just remember that it is. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, and things are going to get thrown at you, things that you think are good, things that you think are bad, and you don't know whether those things are good or bad in actuality. In actuality, those things are helping you grow and learn, and I think just taking everything with a grain of salt and realizing nothing's that big of a deal, and that if something's meant to be, it's meant to be, and to just keep marching forward and do your thing, because to be creative is what I feel like I was put on this earth to do, and if that's how you feel too, then just keep marching.
Yeah.
Clap that out. Yeah.
I think that's groovy.
Producers.
Yeah, I just make sure it's a story that you're passionate about telling, because you're gonna put a tremendous amount of time and effort and pain and sweat and tears, and you're gonna sacrifice relationships, and it's got to be something that you're passionate about, because it's gonna be more work than you can ever imagine. So make sure it's a story worth telling, and it's a stamp that you want to put on it, because what are we, 2.5, 3 years later, and we're still working really hard to get it out there. So
It was a breeze. I don't know what these guys are talking about. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it was so fun. As much as I think, it's hard to even kind of get back there. But it's like I had such a good time making it, and it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and just working our asses off every day and trying to figure out, wardrobe and art and just crazy shit all the time. Like Jeremy said, you really have to. I just worked on a project recently, and it was like my heart wasn't as in it as much, and it's with Nobody Walks. Like, I loved this project, like, from the get-go, and so despite the fact that we didn't have as many resources as I just did, or as many, lights and, gadgets and whatever, it was just a passion project, and I think we all came together, and it was magic. I'm happy with it. I'm proud.
Magic. I like it.
Magic.
I think that's a good place to end. Thank you for coming and
Thank
sharing
you.
your story.
Thank you for supporting us. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to talk to people outside as well. And again, thank you so much for coming to support this film. And please tell your friends. Thank you.
Nobody walks
Have a
in
good
LA.
night.
NobodyWalksInLA.com. We actually got the website. It's not even film or movie.
No. Oh.
Straight up, NobodyWalksInLA.com. I waited 4 years to snag that website, so visit it.